Naz Reed? Naz Freed. Naz Freed, Naz Freed. Let's talk about another brutal, embarrassing, pathetic fourth quarter collapse from the Timberwolves, their third straight game doing this time in a loss to the Warriors on the road as they did not have Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, or Draymond Green. However, the Wolves would also be missing Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Taurean Prince, and Jalen Noel. Even missing those pieces, front court production was still great as Naz Freed has a wonderful night. Most of his damage in the first quarter as he has a career high for a quarter in that one. I think with 17, would have 22 points first half, 30 points in the game in total. Jaden McDaniels, also a fairly solid game. I thought we needed to get him a bit more involved in the second half. First half, we actually got him a lot of good looks close to the rim. He was a little bit rushed in a couple of those scenarios. Once he develops a little bit more patience around the rim, gets able to take advantage of his touch a little bit more, I think that'll be a great step for him. And then the last big bright spot, which is hilarious to even mention this, I thought was Luka Garza, who had 4 minutes in the game, by the way. He has 7 points, 3 offensive rebounds in those 4 minutes, never gets put back into the game. Those are in the first half, by the way, too. Because Finch, 1, doesn't like rewarding what's working, and 2, will not put in a second big man unless there's a gun to his head. So maybe take some time to reflect on how genius the decision Tim Connolly made to trade all the assets that he did to get Rudy Gobert, a second 7-footer to put into Finch's offense with all the other talented bigs we already weren't using. No need to rant about that again, though. Let's talk about the actual game. The big problem tonight was the Timberwolves guards. Across the board, they were brutal. As incredible as Naz Reed was, especially in that first half, Anthony Edwards was the antithesis of that. Most of his involvement early on in the game was dribbling into multiple defenders and just giving the ball to the other team or just having it sent out of bounds. He would start to mix in a bunch of missed layups and jump shots to contribute to the turnovers later in the game. Also, don't love his comments that what do we need to do to improve? Just get big man back as fast as possible. Cat coming back is not going to magically solve these problems. What's really been bad is that Anthony Edwards has not been stepping up to his increased role now that D'Angelo Russell's gone, even though D'Lo was actually not super active in the offense for huge stretches of games all year long, so that shouldn't be a big problem. But something that's a little concerning early on here is we are not seeing this team mature, and that's something you were hoping would happen with the addition of Mike Conley, just kind of the ultimate vet and pro. He's also been extremely passive in these early games, and tonight was another example. 34 minutes, 7 shot attempts, passed up so many floater opportunities, which was blowing my mind. For a decade, he's been one of the best floater makers in the NBA, and he's regularly just passing on them like he doesn't know his own skill set. Additionally, would pass on a 3 that would tie the game with about 15 seconds left to defer to Jordan McLaughlin, the worst 3-point shooting guard on this team, who would miss it, and there were so many opportunities for Conley to make plays and be a scoring threat, and he just did not show up in this one in a lot of those stretches. The bench guards weren't much better either. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, after being incredible last game, was pretty spotty in this one. Then Austin Rivers was really bad in his minutes. Poor shooting night, and then 0 for 4 from the free throw line, went 0 for 2 in 2 different stretches that really got the Chase Center just bursting with energy and was catastrophic to the momentum for this team. The Wolves would have a horrific night from the free throw line in general, shooting 52% from there, which is unacceptable, and it's becoming a trend. It's happened, I don't know, 5 times in maybe our last 15, 20 games, I think, where we're shooting in between 50 and 60%. It's ridiculous. It's another game where the Timberwolves were leading almost the entire time. Last couple minutes of the game, they're absolutely useless. A terrible fourth quarter. This team is not in a good spot. I think the optimistic view is play-in at this point. Maybe if everyone gets healthy and the team can finally be all tired, something will work out, but I'm just so doubtful at this point. Chris Finch wants one big man on the court, no matter how good any of the other ones are playing. It's been so obvious his entire time in Minnesota, and it continues to be proven, but we I don't know what to say anymore. I can't believe an NBA sleeper was this fucking clueless. Jesus. Oh, and some depressing details I forgot to cover. The Wolves had a span where they had 5 straight possessions of turning the ball over in the first quarter. Then in the fourth quarter, they went 6 full minutes where they scored 3 points to close that one out. And then they had some bullshit buckets at the end of the game where the Warriors were just giving them the ball for whatever reason to almost blow that. Also, with the Warriors having 2 more turnovers than the Wolves, they would still have 8 more points off of those turnovers because the Wolves never capitalize on their advantages. They just give it away to the other team. Yeah.